All right, so we're taking a look here at problem number 20 from the week 1 quiz. Okay, so these are very common problems that are missed quite often, and that is finding the least common multiple. And then we'll see later on in the semester also when we're looking for the greatest common factor as well. Very commonly missed, but also very important concepts that help us a lot later on in the course. So, it says we need to find the least common multiple for the given numbers. So we have the numbers 6, 48, and 72. So what we're trying to do here is we are trying to find a number that ends up being a multiple of all three of these given values. We want a number that's a multiple of 6, a multiple of 48, and a multiple of 72. And when we consider all the possible numbers, there are actually quite a few. There are many different numbers that are all multiples of these three numbers. But of course, we want to find the LCM, the least common multiple, so the smallest of these. All right. Well, if we look here, guys, here's kind of a table, and it has our three numbers, 6, 48, and 72. And we could take a look at the multiples of all of these numbers to figure out what value actually is the least common multiple, right? So we could look at our first multiple of 6, 6 times 1. All right, we know that that is just 6. You have 6 times 2. We know that's 12. 6 times 3. We know that's 18. 6 times 4. That's 24. 6 times 5 is 30. 6 times 6 is 36. Enter. 6 times 7 is 42, and 6 times 8 is 48, and then obviously it goes on from here, guys, so we can just end this with an ellipses maybe. Alright, and now we could go ahead and do the same thing with the number 48. Now, if I could bust those all out quickly like I did the other ones, that would be pretty impressive, but I'm going to need the help of my calculator here. So obviously we can do 48 times 1, but just so we can get ready, what is 48 times 2? That's 96. Alright, so 48 times 1 is 48. 48 times 2, we just saw that that was 96. So now what is 48 times 3? Well, that's just adding another 48 onto this number. 144. 144. And let's just take a look here at another couple. Add 48 again to get the next multiple. All right, so this is equivalent to 48 times 4. That's 192. And then adding 48 one more time here, and we get 240. So remember, that's equivalent to 48 times 5. And we could do the same thing here for 72. 72 times 1, that is 72. 72 times 2 is 144. 72 times 3, it's just adding another 72 to this, is equal to 216. And I think we'll actually just go ahead and stop right there because I think I can prove my point with what we have here. Okay, so if you are trying to find the least common multiple of some given numbers, there are a couple of really easy and helpful tricks that can help us out to this. All right, first of all, it's to realize that your largest number is your biggest friend in this whole entire procedure. All right, because if you need to find a number that is a least common multiple of a group of numbers, all right, you're going to want to look for multiples of the largest number. All right, because notice, take a look at some of your multiples of 6, 12, 18, 24. All right, all of these multiples aren't even to your first multiple of 72. All right, so you always want to start off with your largest number. All right, and you want to check and see, are the multiples of my largest number also multiples of my smaller number? All right, well, if we take a look at what we see right here so far, notice that this number 144 is a multiple of both 48 and 72. All right, now we didn't go ahead and look far enough in terms of multiples of 6 to see if it also has 144 as a multiple, but we can use division to figure that out, right? Because what we're saying here is 6 times 1 is 6, 6 times 2 is 12, 6 times 3 is 18. Well, we can also go backwards with this whole operation, and if you do 18 divided by 6, you get 3. 24 divided by 6, you would get 4, so on and so forth. So why don't we take this number 144, which we're seeing, does 144 come out here? If we do 144 divided by 6, we should get some whole number. If it's a multiple, of course. 144, divide that by 6, and you get 24, a whole number. So sure enough, 144 is in fact a multiple of 6. Right? And just to prove the point here, we know that 6 times 6 is 36. So if you take 36 and divide it by 6, notice we get the whole number 6. If you take 37, which we know not to be a multiple of 6, and you divide by 6, you'll see our answer here will not be a whole number. So notice that you get a decimal in this case. All right, give me a second, and actually, never mind. We'll just move right on to our next problem here, which is to find the least common multiple of the given numbers, 5, 16, and 20. All right, so let's take a look at some new numbers here. We want to find the least common multiple of 5, 16, and 20. All right, so remember guys, it is your largest number that is your biggest ally or friend in these problems. What we want to do is we want to think about the multiples of your largest number and see if we also can come up with multiples of our smaller numbers. So 20 times 1 is 20, 20 times 2 is 40, times 3 is 60, times 4 is 80, times 5 is 100. Okay, so let's see if there are, if any of these multiples here, which we know are all multiples of 20, let's see if any of them are also multiples of 16 or 5. So first note that all numbers that end in a 0 or 5, these are all multiples of 5. And more specifically, since 5 is itself a multiple of 20, since 20 itself is a multiple of 5, then all multiples of 20 will also be multiples of 5. So really we just need to check are any of these multiples here of 20 also multiples of 16. So let's use our calculator here to check that out. So we can take our numbers and divide them by 16 and wait until we get a whole number. So 40 divided by 16, not a whole number. Therefore, 40 is not a multiple of 16. 60 divided by 16, not a whole number. Therefore, not a multiple of 16. 80 divided by 16. And there we go. We get a whole number here. So what that tells us is that 80 is the least common multiple of all of our numbers. And by our numbers, I mean these three here. And the reason that we know it's the least common between all of these is because it is the smallest multiple of our largest given number, 20. That is also a multiple of 16 and 5.